What is up, everybody? It is I, the Saltiest Gaijin, coming at you here on YouTube. We're going to be doing a new weekly series here on the YouTube channel. Of course, for those who caught my test stream in the weekend prior to this video coming out, you know, of course, that we're streaming not only on Twitch, but also here on YouTube. So we'll be now streaming on a dual platform, at least for the foreseeable future. And the Sunday series is just kind of an idea to communicate with my viewers, as well as just put out there, you know, what I'm doing each week, at least in regards to Magic the Gathering. So what we're going to go through is, my Magic schedule here. So here's a Google Calendar. So each week I get to play Magic, I'm lucky, 5 times a week, where I'm actually like dedicating time to playing Magic. I'm very blessed that way. So in the upcoming week here, we'll be playing in the solo. I'm all tongue-tied today. We'll be playing here solo stream. It's on Arena. It's our normal Tuesday stream. That's where it's just me. We'll be playing a lot of Explorer, and we'll dive into what I'll be playing here in just a few minutes, just a minute or so. Very excited to be playing a little bit more Arena now that they announced Explorer, which will be probably the focus of our streaming for quite some time. Next up here, let's see if I can in a better place. All right, we'll be doing our Thursday night stream, which will be the budget battle with Drabby Noobs, our good friend at Drabby Noobs, everywhere where he wants you to find him. That's a little earlier in the evening than our solo stream, but that'll be our weekly time frame for that. This week specifically, Drabby Noobs will actually be out of town. He's on vacation with his partner, and so we won't be having a budget battle, but you'll still get to see my beautiful face as we go ahead and we jam another solo stream this Thursday. And then upcoming, I actually get to play 3 tabletop events here locally. So Adventure Games and Hobby, a WPN premium store, about 30 miles from where I live, hosts a modern FNM, and it could be a fairly sizable FNM, you know, typically low-end 16 people, high-end 32. Where you can actually jam a lot of games of Modern and against a lot of people who are very dedicated to Modern. So it's a very competitive F&M level event. So I always enjoy going and playing, and we'll dive into what I'm playing in that event as well. And then on Saturday, again at Adventure Games, they host a Pioneer event. Not as popular as the Modern event, but it's growing. I played in this just this last weekend, and it was a phenomenal event. We had, I think, we were 14 players. Again, a very good representation of the Pioneer metagame, which was very exciting. Awesome to see so many people playing, and I'm sure, especially with Pioneer being a little bit more shot in the relevance, we'll be seeing a lot more people at that. So very excited to be playing that. I'll also be diving into what I'm playing for that event as well. And then as a follow-up, after Pioneer, I go to another game store near me, Blind Tiger Games. They're about 20 miles south of where I live, right between me and Adventure Games. And they host a weekly Modern event. This one, unfortunately, is a little polarized. It'll usually, we could fire with as little as 4, but sometimes we'll even have as many as 16. It can be a pretty loaded event sometimes. And again, a lot of the folks that are dedicated Modern players over here tend to play over there. So definitely quite the exciting lineup. I get to play tabletop Magic a few times a week, and despite getting to hang out with all you guys, you know, on the Tuesday and Thursday night stream, we will be, of course, I very much prefer to play tabletop Magic. And then you notice this Sunday is blank. Next Sunday will be blank because this is recording on Sunday the 1st. Drabby Noobs, this is our off week for the podcast anyway. Drabby Noobs may or may not be available on Sunday the 8th for our podcast. So we'll tentatively be doing a solo stream on May the 8th, as well as you'll be getting my weekly snapshot, probably just in that stream. But why don't we dive into what we're playing? So for our solo stream, we'll be exploring, well, explore, all puns intended. So I have 2 decks lined up that I want to play this week. The first one here, actually, let me get y'all a better idea of what this looks like. Here we go. So I'll be playing with this Golos Fires deck. So this is a very fascinating looking deck. So of course, to start, the namesake card, Fires of Invention, will be playing around this absolute powerhouse of enchantment, which I foresee, at least in Explorer, will be probably a pretty core part of the format, at least at first. A lot of people are really pushing this type of deck, and rightfully so. So to go along with our Fires of Invention, we have powerful cards like Sphinx Foresight, Omnath, Locus of Creation, another powerful card that's looking for a home in this in Explorer. Of course, Golos, Cavalier of Flame, Kenrith, and an extra copy of Yorion, because we are a Yorion companion deck. We get to play a lot of sweepers, luckily. 3 and 4 Angers, 3 Shatter the Sky. Winota is a presence in the Explorer formats. You have to be prepared to play against it. As well as then we just have some of the sort of nuts and bolts cards over here. Utopia, Urban Utopia is essentially just it's essentially just a oh my goodness. Oh, tongue-tied. Abundant Growth. That's the name of the card I'm thinking of. I'm pretty sure it's literally just Abundant Growth. But very good combination with Yorion, because it just enchants your lands, fixes your mana, enabling you to cast a wide variety of spells, while simultaneously drawing a card and then being able to be flanked with Yorion later on. And then Omen of the Sea, very similar, just helps smooth out your draws, gives you something to play proactively on turn 2. And then, of course, Growth Spiral, probably the best of all the cards to play on turn 2, minus maybe Urban Utopia, because it could set up a turn 3 Fires, which could be a turn 3 Shatter or a turn 3 Omnath plus just a turn 3 Omnath, which draws a card. Of course, the mana base here, you have the World Tree to go in combo with Golos, and really just a murderer's row of cards. The new Triomes showing up here. Not many places to actually play these as of now, but this is definitely one of them. And then you'll notice I didn't talk about this one. I wanted to save it for last. Fae of Wishes. So an old school version of Fires back in its standard days before Fires of Invention was inevitably banned. You could play Fae of Wishes, because in the late game you could Fae to wish for something like a Ruinous Ultimatum or a Shatter the Sky. If you wish for this and you can cast it right away, you're probably just ending the game. And in a similar fashion, we're also playing just a couple of copies of Alrund's Epiphany. I'm not sure if I need 3, admittedly, but it's definitely a powerful card to have around, and I'm sure it's something that we wish and then take an additional turn. I mean, that just represents casting 2 more spells with Fires and kind of pseudo giving haste in a manner of speaking. So this will be one of the decks we play. Very excited to play with it. And if I go here, we've got another Explorer deck. This is a Jund Midrange deck. Now, you might be saying, but Gaijin, this looks a lot like the Jund standard decks that are running around. And my response to you would be, you're absolutely right. It looks exactly like those. So if we take a look at it here, this doesn't seem like my up-to-date list. Let me get an up-to-date link here. Explorer. Oh, I just haven't updated this here. I think I've updated it over here, though. You have to forgive me for all the jumping around. My setup is so brand new for this. I have updated my sideboard. So if I pop this up here. So this is what I'll be playing as well in Explorer. It's based around Obnixilis, which is, I did a little bit of playtesting today. I can confirm this card is dumb. Especially with Issaka's Chariot making additional copies of the token. And then the rest of this here is just kind of a, we have some removal to help keep pace with decks like Winota. We have Shambling Ghast and Deadly Dispute, which is actually really good at dealing with cards like Llanowar Elves. And then just some 2-mana 3/2s. We got Tenacious Underdog being sort of a good valuable 2-drop. And then Blood Tithe Harvester being just a solid thing. Gives us a blood token for Voltage Surge as well as Voldaren Evercure to do the same. And then just Kroxa, good late game. Not always the best, but it's a good card to have with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Very natural combination of cards. Excuse me. Moving over to the sideboard, very straightforward. You got some Ray of Enfeeblements. This exactly kills the card Winota, but also manages to kill Llanowar Elves and Brutal Cathar. Noxious Grass, really good against Winota, as well as against just big green creatures, which I'm sure we'll see more of in this format, as well as just green and white Planeswalkers, so you can kill things like Teferi. Alongside Fry, which does a lot of similar stuff to Noxious Grass, but this gives us an out to green creatures, and this gives us an out to blue creatures, just in case we need to go in different directions. A couple of Soul Guide Lanterns, not a whole lot of graveyard decks in this format, at least so far, given that we don't have the support to play Arclight Phoenix and Explorer quite yet. 4 Thoughtseizes just to cover your bases, couple Bousejus just to deal with things like Fires of Invention and such. I'd rather sometimes just bring in a couple extra lands that also happen to be my naturalizes to begin with. And Thoughtseize also goes a long way there. So I'll be very excited to be playing just a lot of Explorer on the regular stream. But up next, here, we pull this back up. We go back into the old deck vault here. We'll be looking at playing some Modern come this Friday, and I have an event on my calendar. My last preseason competitive Magic event is going to end up being probably the Nerd Rage Gaming. Well, it is going to be the Nerd Rage Gaming event in Minneapolis. Whether I play any events after that are a different matter. But this is what I will be playing. This or a version of this, but I will be playing it this weekend at both Modern events. This is Jeskai Murktide. So it's very similar to the Is It Murktide list. It's the same base of threats for DRC, for Ragavan, for Murktide Regent. We have, of course, the normal culprits here: Consider, Unholy Heat, Iteration, Counterspell. The things that are a little more, I guess even the Spell Pierce. Things that are a little different. You notice there's one less Archmage's Charm. It's definitely been a card that's trending down for a lot of players in general. But of course, we can use that to make room for the cards like Teferi. Really solid card, not only in places like the Mirror Match, where it makes these like Counterspell and Spell Pierce do nothing. It really restricts how good Archmage's Charm can be. But this also pairs exceptionally well with Prismatic Ending, which this gives us a flexible answer that can deal with cards like Chalice of the Void in the main deck, as well as in combination with Teferi, an instant speed Prismatic Ending is as good a removal spell as any. The mana base is very straightforward. You trim an island and a fetch land to play a Hallowed Fountains, as well as we went up on Fiery Islets. Sideboard. The sideboard is probably where I'm the most torn. So we have an extra ending and a Path to Exile, so some extra removal. We have Mystical Dispute, which is just a good solid on-rate counter spell, an extra Teferi to help the suspend decks and increasing the potency. And that after that, it really starts to get away from me. Alpine Moon is really good against the Urza Saga decks. Relic is a fine card in the Mirror Match, as well as pretty good because you can grow your own Murktide regions with it. Blossoming Calm is an interesting card. It gives you a functional counter spell against Belcher, as well as it's just a solid card against Burn. You can do a lot of fun tricks with this, where you can counter a Burn spell, while simultaneously, if you're doing it, say if you manage to do it during your own turn, you can turn off cards like Lava Spike for a couple of turns while gaining 4 life. We have a Cursed Totem, not one many people are familiar with. It's specifically good against the Yawgmoth Court of Calling decks, as well as it's pretty good against the Helion company decks, which I've been seeing a little bit of an uptick in, more specifically Yogg, but at least locally, some more specific Heliod company and Yogg. We got a couple of dress downs, an engineered explosives, just another good catch-all, and then of course a wear and tear for matchups like Hammer Time. Shattering Spree can also be very good there. So definitely a deck that I mean, based off like decks you've seen me play on the channel, you could probably venture to say that a little outside my comfort zone. But I've been getting more comfortable with this deck, and I really like it. I'll be playing in the Modern seat at the NRG Team Trios event, and I'm confident in myself playing this deck, and I think my teammates are confident in me playing this deck as well. But that leaves one format, and this is the format I'm probably the most torn on. Pioneer. So tried and true Pioneer, I got 3 different decks I could be playing. So this is basically the same deck as we have built in Explorer. The mana base is noticeably different in this deck, and it's specifically because you get access to the card Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. I feel I can go a little differently where with the mana base. There's also, I just want to try a different mana base out with the deck, so very excited to try this out. But yeah, virtually the same as main deck configuration outside of the mana base being a little different. As well as we have here a different sideboard, very similar. There are more graveyard decks. There is an Arclight Phoenix deck, as well as there's just decks that play Delve cards, because that's not a thing that exists in Explorer yet, but does exist in Pioneer. So having access to something like a Soul Guide Lantern can actually be quite impactful. We have Alpine Moons, which helps us out against decks like, what's its name? Lotus Field combo, because there is an all-in Lotus Field combo deck, and being able to work on disrupting that is quite good. We have Boseiju and Abrupt Decay. I think Abrupt Decay will end up being an Assassin's Trophy if I play this list. Not because I don't have Abrupt Decay and I have Assassin's Trophy. I just feel like being able to have an answer to Leyline of Sanctity in specifically the that Lotus Field matchup can turn on my cards like Thoughtseize and whatnot. And then, of course, Boseiju, Kolaghan's Command, just some good valuable cards. Ray of Enfeeblement / Noxious Grasp. Winota is a presence in the format, albeit it is starting to dwindle, so Ray of Enfeeblement might get worse. But this kills Llanowar Elves / Elvis Mystic. This kills big green threats, so very interesting to see. And then, as an experiment, I have this version of the deck, virtually the same deck, albeit you get to play more copies of cards like Voldaren and Epicure, as well as 2 main deck Thoughtseize. This is essentially just a Rakdos version of that Jund deck we just looked at. A little bit different of the sideboard tactics, a lot of virtually the same elements, with some extra removal spells. Just you're attacking different. Like your sideboard is hitting different in a Rakdos version, because we don't get to play like the Boseiju and other things. The real allure to playing this version of the deck, though, is I feel it has a better control matchup. If people tend to go that way, because we have things like the creature lands to recover, from a big sweeper, as well as access. We still have Croaks and what have you, but other than that, the deck remains virtually the same beyond that. So very exciting. And then this one's a little different. This is an Abzan midrange list that I've been playtesting a little bit, and I will tell you, by golly, does this deck do some work. It is deceptively good in my experience. Now, with New Capenna being out, how that impacts this deck up in the air. But I will say that I've been really impressed. Though I jokingly call this deck the I desperately want Siege Rhino to be good again deck. Siege Rhino is a hell of a card. 4 mana, 4/5 trample, ETB, you drain your opponent for 3. But the big thing here is that this is essentially an Abzan control deck. No sweepers, which is the one thing that I wish I feel I could play, but currently, am not. That's something that I've been interested in trying. But in the main deck, we Sylvan Caryatid, Curvin to 4-drops. We have the Wandering Emperor, All-Star, Kalitas, Siege Rhino, Graveyard Trespasser, good at just eating graveyards, as well as just stabilizing our life total. And then our interactive suite, Fatal Push, All-Star, and Thoughtseize as well. Got some Bloodchief's Thirst, just to have some extra cheap removal for the mana dorks. We got one main board Duress. Sometimes there are plenty of Issac's Chariots, Fable of the Mirror Breakers, Collected Companies. Just random stuff that you can hit with Duress. It's very good. Vanishing Verse, solid, versatile answer. A lot of threats in the format are actually monocolored. A lot of people don't even realize that. So, been really impressed by this card. So much so, there's 3 of them in the 75. And then, of course, Abzan Charm. This card has actually been. When I tried this out, I was like, I'll try it out just to try it, see how it feels. And what I found is that in red matchups where your opponents are trying to use cards like Lava Coil, like this being a functional counter spell in that spot where you can, especially if they hit a Graveyard Trespasser with something like that, and then you grow it past it, and you get this creates a 2-for-1, a negative 2-for-1, where you're taking cards away from your opponent, while also then making this thing into a 5/5 Lord Forbidden flips, and it becomes a 6/6. Same with Kalitas, similar interaction there, but also just being able to answer this can answer a Winota on the play pretty effectively. Unlike where some of our other removal spells are maybe we're very much trying to kill the things that led into Winota versus killing the actual Winota right away, because then we can untap and deal with the Winota very effectively. And then, mana base, very solid mana. You get to play some Fabled Passages. You get to have a couple of basics. You have a fast land to go with your mana, as well as just a variety of shocks. I did avoid Godless Shrine because I preferred Caves of Koilos / Concealed Courtyard. And then Branchloft Pathway was one that surprised me, but it's really good with Urborg. Specifically, and it's slightly better than Temple Garden. I don't necessarily like losing a bunch of life. The most questionable land to me has been a Gonjo, but very excited to try this one out. In paper, I've only played it a little bit on a friend's MTGO account. Sideboards, you're going to see some similar elements here. Noxious Grasp, Brave, and Feeblement. You might be wondering why those are flipped, and it's actually because I have more 1-mana removal spells. I flipped the ratio in this deck specifically to do that. We got an extra Duress for control matchups. We have a Grafdigger's Cage. This is a card that's very helpful against Winota. It actually stops Winota's ability from putting creatures into play, as well as it's very similar to Collected Company's interaction with Grafdigger's Cage, as well as it stops Cauldron Familiars from coming back and Croxus. Got some Devout Decrees. There's a lot of black and red threats in the format, especially Planeswalkers. So I felt like Devout Decree was kind of a no-brainer. Similarly, we have then some answers here. These are specifically for the Lotus Field combo deck. Stopping their emergent ultimatums is kind of a big deal, as well as making lands like Thespian Stage enter the battlefield tapped. Just very helpful lines of interaction. They do have answers to Deafening Silence, but this is more to slow them down, and then you shut them out with Archon. Buseiju, just another answer to things like Fires of Invention, Leyline of Sanctity, and such. Vanishing Verse, also an answer to Leyline. This is probably my favorite sideboard card. So I mentioned we don't have a sweeper in our main deck, but this is people don't play a lot of basic lands in Pioneer unless they're playing a monocolored deck. So bringing this in against specifically Winota, this is probably the most backbreaking card you can have in the matchup. Because they can attack all out, you let the triggers happen, and then you just settle the wreckage and clean everything up. Because especially as the kind of deck we are, they may not be playing around it. And then the last card here, Yasharn. Really good card against the sacrifice decks. Stops them from sacrificing things in order to activate abilities or do anything like that. Just so another piece of interaction. And just being able to stop cards like Deadly Dispute or Casualty or anything like that can be could just be a very big deal as long as you can get it down. This is the deck I'm probably least confident in long term, but it's a fun deck I've been playing around with, and I'm really interested in trying it out. So I actually have all the physical cards on the way, at least the ones I didn't already own. So I may be playing this weekend, but similarly with these, I just ordered 4 Ob Nixiluses, and I own the rest of this deck, as well as this one. So yeah, I just picked up Tenacious Underdogs over the weekend, Shambling Ghasts as well, even Issaka's Chariot. Already owned the rest of this stuff. Same with the lands. I already owned all these lands, as well as my entire sideboard. So I'm very excited to be playing Pioneer more. Very fun format. Very excited to play it. So of course, how can you stay up to date on what I'm doing here? Well, first and foremost, you can always watch this Snapshot series here on Sunday. I'll be posting these probably Sunday evenings every week. Sometimes Monday mornings, depends on how I'm feeling. But you can do a few things. Of course, you can subscribe to me here on YouTube. That will let you know when I go live here on YouTube, because again, we'll be streaming to both YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow me on Twitch, and if you're so inclined, subscribe to me on Twitch as well. Really appreciate the support. But you can also follow me on Twitter, because on Twitter I will, of course, have tweets when I go live to play the streams. I'll also be posting what deck I'm playing, just what I'm playing, with links to the website you just saw here before. This Moxfield website, big fan of this one. Saw Jerry Thompson was using this, and that actually turned me on to it because I like the picture layout you can get. Where I'll not only be posting what deck I play, I'll probably be doing round to round, every other round updates about how I'm doing, where I'm at, what's going on, and if I'm out traveling, like say to Minneapolis, I might even post about a few wonderful little spots you can get some good food and good drinks. So of course, I appreciate everybody checking out this video. Of course, again, we'll be doing this every week to talk about what we're playing, what we're doing, where we're going, if we're going anywhere, for Magic that week. So again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can find me at The Saltiest Gaijin on all platforms, or sometimes just Saltiest Gaijin. But if you're in my chat, you can always type !, whatever, and you'll be able to find me. So I appreciate you all for watching. We will see you again soon.